It is a airish morning in the mountains of southern Appalachia. Feels really nice. We've had some cool weather. A lot of you probably have too. And so it feels really nice. I think this morning we first got up, it was about 49, 50 degrees. It'll warm up through the day though. And by the weekend, I've heard that the warm weather will be back in the 80s. So this is just a little taste of fall. We don't have much left in the garden. Things are dying out and some of the stuff we've already pulled out, but we do have a few things here and there left from the summer garden, and then also we have our fall things that are coming along. So I'm going to take you around the garden this morning and show you how things are doing. This is the little flower bed that's outside the kitchen window that I get to look at when I'm washing the dishes. We still have some of the little moss roses blooming there. A lot of things I have pulled out though. You can see those bare places. Still a few marigolds. And this is some of the stuff I left. It's all fallen over is those coneflowers and some really pretty little anemones here. Few zinnias still here, a few old maids. Down in this lower part, you can see mingled in with the ivy is just a whole bunch of those anemones. They are so pretty, and the name of them is September Charm. So this is September, and they are charming. Somewhere up there in that mountain of weeds, look how tall some of them are. Look at that. There is a raised bed in there, and in that raised bed is some white sweet potatoes. The weeds have totally taken it over in the front and in the back, but you can see here on the end, that's some of the potato plants, some of the sweet potato vines just growing out down the bank. In this bed, we have something really interesting going on. This is where our garlic was that we planted last November. We've already harvested it. It was not a good garlic year for us. I used a different variety, so that may have been it. And then it was just such a wet year. Maybe that had something to do with it. But when we were pulling it up to take it in and dry, we've got it drying on the porch. We waited way too long, and a lot of the stems just broke off at the top of the ground there. So instead of digging around in there, we obviously left some of it. So that's garlic that we planted last year that died back. And now it's coming back out again. So I don't know if we'll just try to plant some more garlic around it, if we'll just leave this bed the way it is. We usually plant our garlic like in November, so I've got till then to decide, I suppose. This beautiful bed up here is our other bed of white sweet potatoes. We also have, though, some volunteer things in it. You can see one of the volunteers here growing out through here is a watermelon. And Matt brought me up here, I don't know if it's last night or the night before, to show me. Look in there. There's a watermelon. I think I showed it in one of the previous garden tours, and it was real little. So that's how big it's got so far. We'll just leave it a little while longer. Sweet potato vines are growing up the bank, and you can see one of the blooms right there. They're just now starting to bloom. There's some out through there too. So this white sweet potato that we planted, the variety is Bonita, B-O-N-I-T-A, Bonita. Last year, it's the first time we ever planted white ones, and we had such a good harvest. So I hope that's what it is this year, and we planted double the amount. So hopefully they will do as good as they did last year. Look at this beautiful dahlia. I'd ordered some tubers and planted them here. I thought I planted two different colors, but they were all this color when they come up. And they were beautiful all summer. About our last garden tour, maybe right before that or right after that, I guess, right after it, I cut them way back all the way to the ground because you can see they were all falling over. Look how pretty that one is though. It's just opening up. But they have come back out, and you can see they've got another flush of blooms on them, so I'm glad I cut them back. Isn't that just beautiful? This back part of the garden back through here, it's kind of a combination of, there's still some stuff producing, there's some stuff kind of on their way out, and there's a lot of stuff that's just dead, that's just gone. So it's been a really nice part of the garden this year, though. It usually always is, even though this part of our yard doesn't get as much sunshine as that front part, or even as the bank. Well, the raised beds on the bank at that end get more sun. As you come this way, the sunshine goes behind the ridge in the summer even, but especially as we go into winter, there's lots of days in the winter, all the winter days really, that the sun never hits back here. So if you did have some snow, if I was lucky enough to have snow, or if you have a big frost, it never even melts off in some areas of our backyard because the sun just doesn't hit there. This last raised bed up on the bank, we still have stuff growing in it. You can see we've got some peas up there. Some of those are ready to pick too. And then down here you can see all the damage where earlier in the summer deer ate my peas. The ones that had managed to grow all the way at the top though were still growing and still producing a little bit. We've already picked these one time, and probably when I pick them again, that'll be the last of the peas for this year. But even with the deer damage, we did get enough to eat and enough to save for seeds for next year. In front of the peas, we had a lot of our peppers this year growing. You can see there's some that needs to be picked. This is a habanada, but it's a sweet one. It's not hot. There's another one. Such pretty colors. And this is a shishito, again a sweet pepper, not hot. So the peppers have done pretty good this year. This is a Marconi. I think it's a gold one. We've really been eating them green though. We've not let any of them turn colors so far. So much deer damage. And then look right here. There's our deer alarm. So you may be saying, well, the deer would be standing right in front of it. Why didn't it scare it off? Because it was not on. And whose fault was that? It was mine. I can't blame nobody but me. I was doing my reading one day. I read books every Friday. I like to sit right here under the birch tree, and I come up here and turned it off because anything will set it off if a little butterfly goes by or whatever. And I'll be right in the middle of reading and then get to hear the Rottweiler and the gunshot. So I come up here and turned it off. I did not turn it back on. So that's why there's so much damage. This has just been a beautiful part of the garden this year, this flower bed. The bed's been pretty. In that bare spot, kind of, there was poppies earlier in the season. And those flowers that I planted in the mismatched containers, they have just been so pretty. And look at those beautiful impatiens. Corey got those for me at Lowe's, and I thought, well, they won't make it. It'd probably be not shady enough back here, even though it's shady, but they have just thrived. So they've been so pretty. I've really, really enjoyed this part of the garden. Our herb bed has done good. You can see some basil. We've been enjoying basil. There's some parsley. Back there in the back is some orange balm. I really want to pull it up. I did pull it up. I cut it way back. I pulled it up, but it's like lemon balm. I guess you can't hardly get rid of it. And then the hyssop over there. And then this is the lemon balm here. And a lot of people ask us what we use it for. I use it in my kefir water that I make. And then the girls and Matt like it for their teas. They love hot teas, so they like that taste in their teas. So this raised bed, these two raised beds with the arch over them, there's been a lot of stuff grown in this area this year. And this is a great example of the kind of where things have been pulled out, things are dying back, and then things are still growing. Of course, we have the nasturtiums. I think they look prettier now than they have all summer. Maybe they're really liking this cool weather. We have the little Matt's cherry. See down here? That one just volunteers for us each year. And this year I made the mistake of letting too many of them volunteer. I shouldn't have. We had cucumbers in this area that did good in spite of the dreaded squash bug, but we've pulled them out a long time ago now. Anyway, the tomato, it will just produce all the way up till frost, till the first frost, and you can see it's growing all the way up to the top of the trellis there. More nasturtiums. Look there. You see the little amounts of dew. Here's a better picture down there. See that water in them, how it rolls around? It's just like a little diamond. I love the leaves of the nasturtiums as much as I love the flowers. There's a real pretty bloom. Look at that one. And they're edible. The whole plant's edible. Even the seeds, when they produce seeds, it's all edible. Have like a spicy, kind of like a radish, but spicier than radish taste to them. On this side, we had cucumbers. They've gone and long since pulled out. And then we had this volunteer squash, which is still putting out shoots, even though it's way too late for it. It could never grow anything else. But you can see there's one of the ones I need. I've harvested a few of them, but I need to come out and get some of the others. Oh, and I see the big one finally fell off. It's down there. I try to wait till some of those turn a little bit more, but I may just have to go ahead and get them. And I like to put them on the porch and let them cure out there for usually till cold weather, and then I'll take them inside. And now if one's got a bad place on it or something like that, I'll go ahead and process it. And on the back side of this bed, there's another different nasturtium. Isn't that beautiful? And you can see the little pieces of dew on the leaves. So pretty. We have some peppers. We have some jalapenos. And this one has just been really prolific. Look at all those peppers still hanging. And we've picked them a few times already. I mean, the whole plant, in other words. Matt's put some in his pickles. I've made pickles with them. And these are hot peppers down here. And this is one that someone sent us. And it has been really, really great. There's the squash that finally fell off and got too heavy. And there's a little one you can see there. That one will never make it. Looks like it's got a little hole in it too. That one looks good though. Still some other pretty flowers here, along with the tomatoes there. Our weedy grow bags back there, those all have potatoes in them that need to be harvested. The potatoes have totally died back and there's weeds growing in them. This is the two, I can't believe how prolific these two, well, there's maybe two in each big bag, but we had zucchini and we had squash. I cannot believe how prolific they were. They were so great. I've never planted them in the grow bags, and truthfully, I did that just because I planted them really early, and I thought the frost would get them and they would die, and then that was just, I could plant something else in there, but they lived. You can see this one's dying back, all the way till it gets out here. And then you can see there we've got some blooms. I don't see no squash right now, but maybe I'll get another squash. Same thing for the zucchini. You can see how it's dying back, but there's a little bit of growth right here. I doubt that we'll get any more zucchini though, so I can probably just clean this all up. This is our tomato bed, and as you can see, the plants are mostly all dead. There's a few tomatoes here and there though, and every time Matt wants to pull it out, I say wait a little bit longer. You can see there's a little bit of growth here and a little bit of green tomatoes. One of my favorite things to grow is right here in this part of the garden. You can see it growing over top of that arch. It's almost completely covered the arch. It's Malabar spinach. I like it for, I guess, about three main reasons. The first of is we like it. We like how it tastes. We like it raw. We like it cooked. Now it does have the mouth feel like okra. It has a little slime to it, so you might not like that. But I love that. We love the taste, and we don't mind that part of it. And then I also love that it reseeds itself. Like I planted it the first year just to try it. We all loved it. Miss Cindy loved it. That was back when she was still living. She would come over and pick her some for a salad or just to eat, cook and eat or whatever. And it reseeded itself the next year. I'd read that it might do that, and it did. So I've not planted it but that one time. I might have been paranoid the next year and planted one or two, but mostly I've not planted it at all. It's just come back. So that's amazing that it just reseeds itself and I don't have to worry about it. I said three things. I think there's going to be four things. I love that it will withstand the heat of summer. Most greens you think about, even some of the kales, but especially spinach and lettuce, those things, as the heat of summer really gets going, they just can't hardly stand it. Malabar spinach can. It just keeps right on putting out new shoots, growing, doesn't phase it a bit, And then the other reason, the last reason, is because it doesn't phase it like that. It will grow all the way till the first frost. So if you think about it growing, even if it's just getting started in June, but by like July, it's big enough that you can start getting leaves off of it and eating it. That's feeding you from July all the way to the first hard frost. If it's just a light frost, it'll still, like especially underneath, some of them will still be there and you could eat those. But if it's a really hard freeze, and that morning I'll come out here and they'll just be limp. They'll just be hanging. Now, of course, you could put it up for future use. I've not done that, other than the girls will dry it. They will take the leaves and they will dry them in the dehydrator and then crumble them up and put them in smoothies, or even mix them in soups and things like that. I've never canned it or anything, although I'm sure, of course, it would be really good if you did. Here's a close-up look of what the seeds look like, and you can see there are just so many of them. You can see why they just eventually will drop off and then kind of reseed themselves. It's a real vigorous plant. Now, look at this leaf. It's gigantic. It's way bigger than my hand. As the leaves get bigger, they do get tougher. They get tougher. But if you can find them when they first come out, they're really tender. Now, you could still eat this. There would be nothing wrong with it at all. But you see this little bitty leaf here. It's much more, even feeling of it, it's just much more tender. And it puts leaves out all along the vines. So it's really puts out a lot of food. And as far as caring for it, we don't do anything to it. And we've never had a problem with bugs or anything like that. Pestilence, as Matt says, bothering it. You can see some little places right there and right there. But that would be the most. And again, that's on a leaf that's been there for quite a long time. When I harvest, I look for those smaller leaves like that. It's a real pretty plant too, because it has that purpley vine, and then before the seeds turn that black color, that's their little bloom. Like, let's see if I can get it to, here's one better, might focus. You can see it's little pink, and then those will eventually turn into the black ones there. On this other side of the trellis, we usually have it growing right here too. And we did have some of them. Well, right there's one growing. But I let the wild apricots take over. I just didn't stay up on top of this bed, so they just kind of weeded them out, got rid of the Malabar spinach, and they're everywhere. So I've talked about them before. Passion fruits, maypops, wild apricots. They go by a lot of different names. And they are edible. They're more of a novelty, though, than something that you think about putting up for food. Although Katie has made jelly out of them, and they make a real tasty little drink, and they're kind of neat to, especially to show kids how to eat the insides, kind of jelly-like. Matt's beloved Cherokee Purple are kind of on their way out too, but we've left them because here and there there's still some green tomatoes, so we're just leaving them here for now. This one's looking pretty good. There's some new growth on that one, but a lot of them are brown and just completely died out. You can see that one all the way down to the ground. Our grapes started out looking really promising. There were so many grapes. I thought it was going to be a great year for grapes, but it just wasn't. It was maybe too much water, too much rain. They just all kind of shriveled up and fell off, or got soggy and fell off, and so we didn't really harvest any grapes at all this year. Down in this part of the garden, it's our longest continuous garden space. You can see we've already pulled a lot of the things out. We've pulled the beans out. We've pulled some of the tomatoes down here out. So it looks pretty bare. It's kind of already been put to sleep, or the first step. I hope we can add some amendments during the winter months, but a lot of this is just gone. It's just died out and gone. Now, where I'm standing here, I don't know if you can see, maybe right there, right here beside me, there's a bunch, but I can't pull them over here. Maybe I can pull that one. There's a lot of the flowers that I planted with abandon. It took about all summer, but they did end up being just beautiful, the prettiest I've ever had as far as one long row. Most of them were zinnias, old maids. The other things I planted either got shaded out because I didn't realize they were too small, or they just never come up in the first place. But I hope to do this again next year. I really, really loved it. And this is the part of the garden where we've got our fall things planted, so I'll give you a closer look at them. So over here, closer to the cattle panel, we planted one long row of stuff. As it goes out through there, you can see the row is easier to see. On this end, we have here's some little bitty kohlrabi. I don't know if it'll do any good or not. I just wanted to try it. A lot of it come up though, and it's growing, so hopefully it'll continue to grow. Here's some more. I believe that is rutabaga. I think that's what it is. We've never been able to grow them, but we'll see what happens. And then here's the turnips. They usually do pretty good for us, so you can see they're up and growing. Plenty big enough to enjoy a mess of turnip greens if we wanted to. I hope they produce a lot of turnips though. Then all the way out here on the end, I planted some radishes. See, look, there you go. I'm gonna pull some of those up. Those were kind of the long ones, and take them to Granny later today. She loves radishes as much as I do. Then in the area right under the zinnias there, out through there, we planted a lot of greens, a lot of different greens. Now this first one, you can see how good it's doing. You can see also that's a zinnia growing right up in the middle of it. more right here. I'm going to pull them up though because I'd rather have the greens than the flowers, and they're not going to make it once cold weather gets here. This was a tatsoi. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Black Knight. That was what that one was. And Corey got me that for my birthday. She thought that it was, or she's seen it somewhere. She's never grown it either, but it's a green, and it's supposed to be so hardy that it can stand, even if it snowed, a lot on it, it could stand that and still be okay. So we wanted to try it. Now this next little square here is blue kale, and you can see it's not really coming up good. There's one. I don't think that was a kale, that was a flower. And right here's a couple, and that's it. No, there's one. There's a few. That's a ground cherry there. Few little kale, but not much. It just didn't really, maybe the packet of seeds was not good. I'm not sure. This next bed, this is some collards. They've come up pretty good. And then this next bed of kale has come up really good. You can see there, this is the variety Premier, all the way up through here. There's some more zinnias I'm gonna pull up. Then that's really come up, this is the best showing, made the best showing, is some mustard greens. And we love them, so that's great. This is another kale bed that's not come up real good, look, and it's got some little bug damage too on that. Now it makes me wonder if maybe something's eaten my other before it can actually come up. These are some zinnias that's reseeded themselves. We'll get rid of those. Here's some of the kale. Over here some with some more zinnias. And that's Lacento. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but that's what is planted in this one. So not the best germination. Hopefully some of that will continue to grow or come up, but I'm really thankful for the stuff that is doing really good, like the turnips and the mustard greens and some of the kale, just some of it not, and some's doing better than others. And the stuff that Corey got me is doing pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see if we like it. In this bed, we had some of our Mississippi pink eye peas, which are just about all gone. You can see back there some things I need to harvest. Is one butternut that I don't even really remember planting, but it only grew one apparently. And a little sugar pie pumpkin. We have several of those. It did pretty good. These things in this bed were planted really late in the year because what we first planted here just didn't do no good. More beautiful old maids and some more pumpkins. This is where we had some squash and zucchini, but we've pulled them out. They were done for. This part of the garden still has some things growing. You can see some calendula I planted, pretty little blooms. I think that this is a parsnip from last year. I wonder if I can see down there. No, yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know. That's one I think we left planted from last year. So it might have been a carrot or it might have been a parsnip. We didn't plant parsnips this year. Here's some dill. And then back in here is our carrots, 2 rows of carrots. They didn't do as good as they usually do, but we do have carrots, so I guess I can't complain. Just brushing up against this dill. It smells so good, so amazing. Now this one is, look at that pretty bloom. This one is a parsnip from last year. Look at that. Pretty. I just can't resist to let things grow, even though maybe I shouldn't. More of the dill. This is another area of the garden that'll be producing for us all the way up to that first hard frost. It's our okra. You can see it's taller than I am. We had a really hard time with okra this year. Usually we grow it back up there where we've got those winter greens growing now, and it does fantastic for us. This year we were going to put it in the big garden just to leave more room up here around the cabbage, and we planted it in the wrong place. We tried to plant it all the way at the edge of the garden, thinking we were going to need the majority of the open space in the big garden, out in the middle for something else. Turns out we could have planted it out there and it would have been fine. If all that had produced, we would have had so much okra we could have sent you some, but it didn't. And the main reason is because we had so much rain, which was such a blessing after last year was so dry. And it's one of the reasons our garden has done so good this year. We've had a great gardening year. But all that rain, when it would pond up on one end of the garden or just wash from there, it would come right down over top of that okra. It just kept it washed. And it just never could overcome that. Most of it didn't get no bigger than that. Even though it was down there like for a month growing, it never did. So we eventually just said that's never gonna do anything for us. I think we did get 2 pods off of like the 2 that was at one end, but that was all. And then we come up here and planted this okra, which was much later, and it's taken forever for it to start producing. But it's producing now, and we've been enjoying it and get to enjoy it till the first hard frost. This area just behind the okra is where we had some winter squash. We also had some watermelon here, all of it planted late in the year. The watermelons got to be about that big, and then they just kind of shriveled up and died. And I'm thinking that the winter squash just overshaded them and they couldn't compete. This winter squash is not like what we thought we were planting, which was a green and white cushaw. This does look green and white, but it was a different shape. We normally don't grow this teardrop shape. I had 2 other ones, and you may remember me showing them in a video or on the Blind Pig and the Acorn. They had yellow up at the top, and they were bigger than this one. But something happened to them, and just almost overnight, they just kind of deflated like a basketball or something with no air in it. Probably they had something going on the inside for a long time that I couldn't see. Maybe a bug had infiltrated them. Sometimes things like that happen that you really don't know what happened. But this one's still looking good, and I'm hopeful we'll get to eat it. I hope you enjoyed walking around the garden with me this morning on this airish morning. It feels so nice. I'm disappointed to know the heat's going to come back, but that is the way of life, right? And especially this time of the year, we're teased with those little cool downs, and then the heat returns until one day it doesn't, and then we've got winter. It's kind of sad a little bit to walk around the garden this time of the year and see the places that there's nothing left, and you can remember, what it looked like. The area up front where our green beans were, I think that was the prettiest part of our garden this year. We had the green beans. They were so lush with all that rain. They were so beautiful. Then we had our row of cabbage, which did good, even though it had a little bit of bug damage. Still got a great harvest from it. And then we had the beautiful flowers that I planted. It was just beautiful every time I went out that way or walked by or even glanced at it off the porch. If I was on the porch, I just thought it's so lovely. Those zinnias, the old maids with their beautiful colors against that backdrop of the green beans, lush green beans, and then the backdrop of the mountain ridge over there that I can see. So that was my favorite part of the garden this year. It was just beautiful. So it's kind of sad to see it on its way out, but I know that it'll be back next year. Someone left a comment in the last week or so that said they had tried gardening for the first time and kind of hadn't done very well with it. Of course, they didn't plant like me and Matt do. They didn't have this much. But that their husband was already thinking, this may have been an email instead of a comment now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, their husband was thinking that next year they were going to move it to a different place. So I said, oh, it might have been your first year gardening, but you're a true gardener because you're already thinking about next year. That's the way gardeners do. Already dreaming about what next year's garden's going to be like. A lot of you have probably heard in our videos Matt talking about how he's got big plans for the big garden. He's going to try to make it where it's easier to take care of as far as weeding the corn and all that. And so he's got some big plans that he's going to do down there. And I even teased him and told him, which I'm not really teasing, I mean it, he could just be totally in charge of that garden and whatever he wants. He said, really? And I said, yeah. And he said, you mean even the end where your daughter took over? I said, yep, even that. I'll overrule Corey and tell her she's got to do what you say, which she did what we said this year too. We just didn't really think it out. Me and Matt both are bad. I'm worse than Matt to just jump in and just go for it and not really think of a whole plan. It's great if you plan, but it's also great if you don't, I would say, because our garden did so good this year. Now, the watermelon, that's a good example for every year you have something that does kind of good, sort of good, and then something that does really, really good. Me and Matt are really lucky with tomatoes. They always do good for us. We had a good tomato year. We usually always do, though. The beans always do so-so, but this year they did extra special is what Pap would have said, extra special. So they did really good, but there's always things like that. Now watermelons we can never grow, we never can grow them. I think we don't get enough sunshine is the main reason here on the north side. They need so much sunshine. I never quit trying though. I keep trying every year. But the years that we have grown them, like that one I showed you a little while ago, and we've grown them bigger than that, but every time we've grown a watermelon successfully, it's been a volunteer. It's not been one we planted. I probably should just go get some watermelon seeds and throw them down there, shouldn't I, and hope that they would come up next year. I better wait a little bit though, or they'll come up this year and die back. But it's always been a volunteer, so isn't that neat? And that's something too to really learn from, that seeds really want to grow even though they've been laying out there. And for me, kind of humbling to know too that nature, the good Lord, can do it way better than I can. I can tenderly plant my watermelon seed and care for it, and then I've started them in the greenhouse. I've tried starting them all different places in the garden, planted them in the big garden last year, and I can do all that work and worry, and then with the Lord's own hand, you know, the volunteer just comes up and does better. Then you have those things, so that's a surprise. I'm all excited about that volunteer. Another surprise is that garlic. We've always been able to grow garlic. This year, somehow we just couldn't, whether it was the varieties that I picked out or the wet weather. But then, isn't it interesting? We wasn't really disappointed, but because our garden was doing so good in all the other areas, but the garlic harvest was not what it usually is. But then it's such a surprise and a blessing. Is there that garlic's growing already from what we didn't pull up. And we knew we were leaving some. I really didn't think we was leaving that much though, or our harvest would have been bigger. But it's really interesting to think about that. There's so many similarities between life and growing a garden. I didn't show you Granny's garden, but the big garden, we'll start down there, has totally been cleaned off. Matt's bush hogged it. All the stuff that was down there growing is gone, with the exception of the blackberries and the grapevines that stay there. And then Corey has a few beans left down there. But the rest of it, the corn and all that's been bush hogged down, so it's totally over for the big garden this year. It really did well for us, even though the okra was bad down there. We got beans that we planted that were good. We got a wonderful potato harvest, and then we had the corn that was amazing, so it was a really good gardening year for that spot. We move on up to Granny's garden. I didn't show you that either because there's really nothing left in it. Hers is died back like much of ours has, so there's nothing left to show you. She had a pretty good gardening year. She got a lot of tomatoes. She got a lot of little lima beans that she planted, and she got a pretty good harvest of green beans too. Cucumbers I planted down there didn't really do good. And then also her peas, the same thing happened to them, happened to my peas. A deer ate them. But she still managed to get some peas from them, about like what we did, I guess. But she really enjoyed it, Granny loves for someone to take her out there and let her just watch, or let her help you try to pick the beans and stuff. My great love of gardening, of course, come from her and from Pap. Speaking about the deer, anytime I mention deer, I'll get a lot of questions about how do we keep them out of our gardens. We are very lucky that we live in a mountain holler here, family, and a lot of our family have dogs, and their dogs roam around at will. They're not tied up, they're not put in a pen, they just kind of have free reign over the holler. Well, what that does is they keep a lot of the deer, groundhogs, rabbits, all those things chased out. You know, they're just free to roam around and chase, and dogs love to chase things, so that does a lot of good for us. It really helps that those dogs are here to scare things away. And we really never had a problem until I guess about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, something like that. And then deer began nibbling on Granny's garden, and then I guess it was the first year that we grew in the big garden, so about 2 years, I guess 2 growing seasons. And then we were like, what are we going to do? I think the deer were nibbling in those places because up here we were out constantly, in and out of the house. But in Granny's backyard, not many people are back there, and then of course in the big garden neither. So I guess that's why it was easier for the deer to take advantage of those places. And then, of course, now this year we've had the deer in our backyard back there at the peas. They didn't come down into the yard, but just right there. But then we heard about from Megan and Andy on True Grit. That's a great YouTube channel. If you've never watched them, they have a beautiful, beautiful family, and they have a wonderful farm. They have animals and grow a lot of their food and everything. They're really, really sweet family, though. I just love their family dynamic. Reminds me a lot of me and Matt. Anyway, we learned from them that they got some deer alarms, and so I thought, we'll try that. So I'll put the link in the description below from the ones we got. I think it's the same ones that they used, if I remember right. And it's just a motion alarm. It has a little solar panel on the top. It does have batteries, but that solar will recharge them. So like we don't have to go out and do anything to them. And there's different settings on them. And you can even record your own setting if you wanted to record, "Get away, deer, get out of here," or something, or you can just use the ones that are on it. So we just used the first one that come on, which was, it's like a gunshot and a big dog barking, and motion detection is how they go off. So if a deer walks in front of them, they will go off and hopefully scare them away. And they really helped. They took care of our problem at the big garden and at Granny's. You've got to make sure you have enough, and you've kind of got them turned in right directions is what we found. And then you've got to make sure that they're actually turned on, which is my fault about the peas. You do have to get used to the aggravation of them going off. They don't bother me that bad, but they drive Matt crazy. They drive him crazy because we found out really quickly, like at first we thought, well, we'll just turn them on during the day and we won't turn them on at night. But then a lot of the time deer are browsing at night, so we ended up just leaving them on around the clock. So they do go off if a deer walks in front of them, if a raccoon or something like that, but they also go off if a bird flies in front of them, if the wind blows, you know, a streamer, a piece of grass, something like that in front of them, they'll go off then too. So they get rather annoying if that bothers you. But for me, I'm like, I'll listen to anything as long as the deer don't eat my gardens. But those are the things that we've tried that helped us. Now there's all kinds of tips and tricks about, you know, using soap and using, they even make like a product that would deter the deer. All of those kind of things you have to replenish after it rains. And some people will say they really, really work for them. Some people say they don't work for them. So I think you just have to find what works best for you. And I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you. There's so many deer in our area that it's not just gardens that they eat, that people can't have flowers, bushes. You know, think about just making your yard nice. A lot of people I know just said, I mean, it's just not worth it to try to spend a lot of time and then the deer just eat it to the ground. So I'm so sorry. It's very, very frustrating, I know. But those are the things that we do that works for us. We've tried some of those things that you, I can't think of what it's called, like some of the things you paint on maybe the rocks, or if a tree's nearby or something, and they sort of seem to work, and then until they didn't work. And that's, a lot of people have told us with the alarms that the deer will get used to them and then they will ignore them. I hope that doesn't happen for us. It hasn't happened so far, but it may happen. The more deer there are and the more time they spend around the settlement, as Pap would say, I know the braver and braver they get. But that's how we tackle it so far. It would be almost impossible. You think of a fence. A lot of people just have a fence, and you know, a really high fence has to be super high. Then there's the tips about doing 2 fences or 2 lines of fishing line. There's all kinds of things you can try if you just Google how to keep deer out of your garden. But for us, it would almost be impossible up here to try to protect our gardens from deer. The big garden we could do, but then if you put in a fence, then you got to think about how you get stuff in and out. Like Matt's tractor, it'd have to have a big opening, you know, so that you could. And then even that would hinder going in and out off the ends of the garden, because when you're trying to turn the tractor, you know, there's just so many things to think about. Of course, Matt is a deer hunter, so he tries to help keep the population in control right around our house, because we eat a lot of that meat. That's what we eat primarily. So I feel for you if you're someone that deals with that problem, and there's lots of people here that do too. I hope you really enjoyed seeing our garden. I hope you'll leave a comment and tell me, is your garden just on its way out? You know, did it do really good this year? Or maybe it was too much rain. Or maybe you was in one of those places where it was kind of the rain was all around you and you were still just as dry as last year. I hope not. And I hope, like me, you're already dreaming about next year, and Matt, and that you're already planning and looking forward to next year's garden. I'm always glad when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia.